and let us all do we can to build a better future. But Briahna Joy Gray and her co-host Robby got in a back and forth in regards to this horrific conflict that is happening between Palestine and Israel. And the way this entire conflict is building up and the way the media has been reporting on it and the way social media has been exploding with the imagery that we are seeing with the bombings and the political back and forth, the banter, people are emotionally charged and angry. People are confused and scared. Now, it's easy for anyone on a platform to start waving their fingers and start dictating what is the correct solution for peace or how people should behave. But unfortunately, with this conflict, like all conflicts, is far more complicated. And we are stuck in it now. Were there opportunities for peace? Was there opportunities for a better future? Oh, yes. But I don't see that happening anytime soon within my lifetime or in any other future generation lifetime. We are in this war for a very long time, and I don't see peace in our time. So I want to bring up this video where Briahna Joy Gray and Robby have their intense back and forth. It does get a little emotional, but I do have to at least tip my hat to Briahna Joy Gray for at least keeping her composure together. Robby, on the other hand, well, he got a little perturbed, a little furious, a little, maybe his inner Saiyan decided to come out. So let's go ahead and pull up this video and check it out. I will keep my pausing to a minimum and be adding in my commentary, of course, as well. But let's hear it out because it has to deal with the massacres and assaults that are happening. So let's play it.
Committed crimes against women and children.
Hamas has rejected allegations that it committed crimes against women and children. This is the quote: "Some Western media outlets continue to spread Zionist slander and lies about our Palestinian people and their resistance, which falsely and slanderously promoted allegations that members of the Palestinian resistance beheaded children and assaulted women without any evidence to support their lies and claims. Hamas strongly condemns the baseless allegations."
So it looks like Biden lied from the pulpit in front of all of the entire American people and repeated unconfirmed. What we knew when we reported all of yesterday was that it was unconfirmed. The IDF repeatedly declined to confirm, which was, I think, a red flag in and of itself. Of course, we were all waiting to see what got reported out because, of course, nobody would want to downplay or minimize such claims if they were to be true. But the fact that the IDF, who for obvious reasons has every interest in validating a horrific attack from Hamas against Israeli citizens as they are looking for international support, et cetera, the fact that they were unwilling to confirm the reports, I think, was a pretty significant red flag. And then the fact that there were, as the lie was spreading all across social media, being picked up, CNN said they confirmed it. CNN said they confirmed it midday yesterday, and that it made it all the way to the White House and out of Joe Biden's lips. And then that lie transformed it from just there were 40 beheaded babies to I saw personally evidence of 40 beheaded babies. People jumped online saying, I told you so. You guys were trying to deny the cruelty of Hamas. I told you so. Because the president said it, a president who is so known for being a serial fabulist that his moniker is literally Lion Biden.
Yeah, Biden clearly got this one wrong. This.
In order for context, I think it's important for us to kind of look at this even further because this story is still being shared. Everyone on social media, as well as the media, are talking about beheaded babies. Reports spread wide and fast, but Israel's military won't confirm it. It's from The Intercept, and many other people are also still talking about it. Israel's government cannot confirm babies were beheaded, unverified reports, and so much more. So again, this is what's happening.
This rumor that has floated on social media and that several mainstream news organizations have grappled with is not in fact confirmed. They said it's one of those we talked to someone who saw it kind of thing. Biden has a long history of exaggerations, outright lies. In fact, he had to exit his first presidential campaign after plagiarizing a British politician's speech. He's made misstatements about the circumstances of Beau Biden's death. Him and other political figures, including Hillary Clinton and media figures, often have said things about how they were, close to the danger when they visited combat zones. Remember the whole helicopter or plane or whatever it was coming under fire that Hillary Clinton talked about. So just because conservatives know this, just because Biden says it does not make it true, and his own White House is not backing it up. That's with this story. It's not like it doesn't need to be true in order for the attacks to be horrific. The violence is horrific. There are bodies lining the streets. There are bullet-ridden corpses. Women died. Children died. It was an unprovoked attack on innocent, defenseless civilians, many of whom have been taken captive, and their lives are now being threatened. So it doesn't. This does not need to be true in order for this attack to rise to the level of.
What is the advantage? Because I have a theory of making up something like this. What is your theory?
Well, I don't know who. I think. I don't know who initiated the rumor. We heard something about injured children being moved from one location to another. I think that might be the genesis of it. If that is true, I don't know, but go ahead.
And to be clear, this lie has been parroted everywhere. I referenced in a different segment that there was a debate between Cornel West and Alan Dershowitz on Fox last night. One of the things that Dershowitz used to try to win the argument against Cornel West, who was arguing for the shared horror, the indiscriminate horror of dead children, whether they be Palestinian lives or precious Israeli lives. Dershowitz says, well, what about the 40 beheaded babies? And that, I think, is a clue to what that particular kind of a rumor does. If you have a tragic mass of death on both sides, including multitudes more Palestinians who have been killed over the last 10, 15 years than Israelis who have been killed. And children, Palestinian children, a much bigger, horrible, tragic, disgusting pile of Palestinian bodies, then you have to find a way to distinguish why those kind of raw numbers and why all of the children and the tragedy shouldn't be treated equally. And we see words like barbaric, barbarism.
Because it was barbaric.
Flung around. But the barbarism, the inhumanity of bombing children in Palestine is not describing those same words. What you need to do is find a language that makes it feel like there's something different to the character of it when an Israeli child is killed versus when a Palestinian child is killed. When a Palestinian child is killed, and we heard this from Dershowitz and many other defenders of the indiscriminate killing of Palestinian children, well, it must be the case that Hamas was using them as a human shield. It must be the case that a Hamas missile was located close to those children and it could not be helped. And on the other side, we're being told that Palestinians are keeping Israeli children in cages and decapitating them by the dozens, neither which rumor turned out to be true. And yet in the middle of a tragedy that needed no embellishment to make the case for why Hamas's acts are horrible and tragic, there is still this embellishment. And I believe it is rooted in a desire to strip humanity from the people of Palestine.
So I want to pause it here because, again, when we look at what Briahna Joy Gray is talking about, especially with what's happening to the people of Gaza and the West Bank, they've been under this occupation for decades now. And because of this, they have been brutally hit. People have been brutally hit by the policies of the Israeli apartheid government. Unfortunately, for many of us who are now growing up and still dealing with the aftermath of policy decisions done by people who have been in Washington, D.C. for such a long time, and because of our investment into this region, we have created an environment of instability where both sides are viewing each other as the other. And as these conflicts continue to escalate, we see tragedy and man's inhumanity to man.
And justify doing what Max Miller and a number of other officials in the Israeli government have said,
Max
which
Miller
is to flatten.
an obscure Republican official. It does
And here's where Robby starts do his little bit of a snap off.
not matter what he says.
So every leftist, wait a minute, Robby, every leftist in America was asked to apologize for some random protest.
They should apologize. They should apologize for their endorsement of terrorist attacks on innocent Israeli civilians, just as I am outraged by the retaliatory actions that are killing innocent Palestinian children everywhere. I care about both of these things and have said I care about both of these things over and over again. It is you and the idiotic leftist, terrorist sympathizing people who do not care about the dead Israelis.
No one is sympathizing with anybody, Robby. Nobody is sympathizing with anything. We just want to stop the human tragedy, okay? And as we speak right now, the bombings are still happening, where residential homes are being blown up by the defense forces, the Israeli defense forces, by the IDF. And we are seeing dead women and children. We are witnessing that, but yet there's no talk about that in Washington, D.C., of course.
They don't.
So I'm a terrorist.
And they've said it over and over again. Black Lives Matter has said it. The Harvard students have said it. The DSA in various locations have said it. The left endorses what Hamas did. They do. They endorse it.
The Harvard newspaper said exactly what the editorial page of Israel's major newspaper said.
I don't give a Briahna.
Dude, professionalism, live on air. Keep it together, buddy. Keep it all together. Keep it all together. Keep it together, baby. Come on. Keep it together.
Okay, well, that's clear that that's your opinion. But the Israeli voices in Israel who are getting killed because their fascist right-wing government decides to keep 2.3
The Israelis are getting killed
people.
because a terrorist group targeted them. And they bear responsibility for what they did.
Well, Robby, if you think you know more than Israelis in Israel, then you can feel free to have your position. But the position of Israelis who are the ones that are being victimized by this terrorism is that the fact of stripping the rights of 2.3 million people in an apartheid state on their border are conditions
justify terrorist attacks on civilians in those territories.
Do you think it justifies terrorist attacks?
No.
Well, I don't either. So why do you keep saying
Well,
that?
I don't think the occupation is justified.
Robby, I think you forgot what Briahna Joy Gray has done to both Sammy Boy Cedar and Fat Tony. I mean, Cenk Uygur. You're getting a little too emotional. You're putting your heart out there, and you're getting emotionally charged. I understand. Seeing some of this imagery, this conflict between both Palestine and Israel, is getting the better of a lot of people. And there's this whole idea of viewing one side being guilty, more guilty than the other, or if only the other side was able to compromise more. This has all been created by the decisions of people in power decades before many of us have been born. And this helped create an environment of instability and horrific brutality. So it's easy for everyone in the media to start going after the left. Hell, AOC threw the DSA and progressives and protesters underneath the train. That's what AOC did. And so did so many of these other quote-unquote anti-war Democrats. Hey, whatever happened to that anti-war right, too? Oh, that's right. Everybody is now so emotionally charged by imagery, we're unable to confirm stories, be they true, false. We're all stuck in this quagmire of unable to ascertain the real truth.
Either. So
Okay.
why are you saying that I do?
So, Robby, I'm not saying that you do, but I have yet to hear you offer a solution for why the people that have been kept in an open-air prison for 17 years and who are being indiscriminately bombed right now, and their water shut off, and their heat shut off, and their food shut off, and the access to medical supplies shut off, and UN staff members being killed by Israeli rockets. What is the solution for that group of people, 2.3 million people, to get self-determination?
Is the solution for a terrorist group
Wait a minute, no.
to attack?
Answer the question. What is their solution?
I support a two-state
was a peaceful
solution,
protest.
and
There have been decades of peaceful protests. In 2018, there was this march, I always get the name wrong, sorry, March of Return, where Thousands of Palestinians marched along the wall, peacefully protesting, and Israeli IDF soldiers sniped down and shot them in the feet and knees, including children.
So that
they tried, wait a minute, they tried BDS, and we were told, our own government said that if you support the boycott, divest, and sanction movement, you are not allowed to get a federal contract in several states, usually southern conservative states in the United States of America. So you're not allowed to do
asks candidates whether they will make a pledge to never visit Israel. There's mutual boycotting going on.
What are you talking about? That's fine if they want to say that. The point is,
of course.
The point is you're allowed to boycott. The question is whether or not your political opinion should get you out of a job. I thought you were a libertarian. I thought you cared about that.
I'm going to read a statement from DSA San Francisco. Violent oppression inevitably produces resistance. Socialists support the Palestinian people's and all people's right to resist and fight for their own liberation. This weekend's events are no different.
I'm sorry, is that supposed to be own? They literally just recited international law, which allows occupied people to resist.
This is why I say you endorse the left is endorsing the terrorist activities.
Okay.
No one is endorsing that. But look, I want to pull up this video here from Case Study QB here, just so that we all can get an understanding. Shout out again to Case Study QB. I understand where Robby is getting at. Maybe he's getting too emotional. He's getting too angry about the fact that he doesn't want to see innocent people die. Look, I think we all can agree with that. No one wants to see that happen. The only people I feel sorry for are the innocent civilians. But let's be very clear what Israel's doing. It has dropped 6,000 bombs in 6 days, which is more than the United States dropped in Afghanistan in less than a year.
Afghanistan in less than a year. Beyond the sort of end game of the complete and utter leveling of Gaza, what do you interpret in terms of Israel's strategy, its broader intentions in that kind of initial show of force?
I think Israel has thrown out some of the rules that it has around restraints over the past week. I mean, I think the reaction to this, both the public reaction and the political reaction in Israel, was, of course, one of shock and anger after the attack on Saturday. And we've heard some incredibly harsh and sometimes dehumanizing rhetoric coming out of the Israeli government. And so I think the approach to Gaza has been where in past conflicts in 2014 and 2008, there have been some restrictions or some safeguards around the way the Israeli military has used air power. I think they have thrown those out the window, and they have been much more willing to use military force.
And so I want to pull right back to this video and just play just a few more minutes of this conversation.
You can say that all you want, but
if you think that resistance means a terrorist group is allowed to indiscriminately kill civilians, that is a monstrous point of view. That is the view of the DSA, and that's the view of Black Lives Matter.
It's not the view of Black Lives Matter.
It was the view of Black Lives Matter Chicago.
It's the view of someone who ran the Black Lives Matter Twitter page in Chicago. Right. And given that we just interviewed a libertarian, the head of the Libertarian Party, who just said that the Libertarian Party's rejection of RFK Jr. as a candidate was just a peccadillo by somebody that was running the Twitter account, and that she is very happy to embrace RFK Jr. as a candidate.
That's equivocating. I am calling.
No, it does. Because here's the thing. When it comes down to running social media, I think it's easy for a lot of people to get blind to the fact that when they see maybe a group or an organization, and when they tweet out something or they post something, it's the monolith organization thinking that, not knowing that there's an individual who is running that said page. And there have been very, very big, huge examples all across the political spectrum of said individuals, maybe, or organizations having individuals who decide to pepper in their own personal opinions. And then thus there's a quick cleanup act that the organization or political group or activist organization has to quickly fix up. Yes, these things have happened, not only on the left, but on the right. It has happened throughout the entire time the internet has been a force on social media and in the political sphere as well.
Organizations and the public statements they're putting out, which endorse terrorist activity, endorse violence,
frankly,
endorse murder of innocents.
The condemnable action.
If I was the left, I would want to separate myself from these organizations a little bit more.
If you are not so afraid of the words that are coming out of my mouth and would let me speak, Robby, I would tell you. The condemnable action is the killing of civilians and innocents. The condemnable action is not resistance itself. That is something that is worth a distinction. And if you create conditions, every defender of Israel right now is saying, well, killing Palestinian kids is collateral damage. That's what it means for Israel to defend itself, that it's going to kill some Palestinian kids and innocents.
And I have criticized that every time it has appeared, has come across our screen.
But what the United States of America did was to stand at a podium and say, without any caveats, Israel has a right to do that, to defend itself, even if it means killing those innocent women and children. And what people are responding to is the inconsistency with which the lives lost that are innocents are treated. And yes, it matters infinitely more that a sitting Congress member, and by the way, also Lindsey Graham, it wasn't just Max Miller, it was any number of Republican Congress members. Lindsey Graham also echoed the sentiment that we should level Gaza. He wants to go to nuclear war with Iran. That's the situation we're in. And so you're sitting here criticizing whoever runs the Black Lives Matter Chicago Twitter page. And I'm criticizing members of Congress who are openly
members of Congress too.
Who are openly contemplating genocide against a population of 2.3 million people, half of which are children.
I have criticized that over and over again. I will continue to do so. Lindsey Graham does not represent my views. I don't share any views with Lindsey Graham. His foreign policy is everything I think the Republican Party should pivot away from, and the Democratic Party, frankly, which is more bloodthirsty than the Republicans on this.
You keep saying that you criticize this stuff, Robbie, but
I do criticize. I don't hear a lot of criticism from you of the leftist groups endorsing terrorist attacks.
I don't think the leftist group should endorse terrorist attacks.
Well, they are.
Wait a minute.
Well, okay. Again, you're only naming one group. That's BLM. And then, of course, you're BLM Chicago. And then, of course, you're mentioning out that protest in New York City. However, it's not everyone. That's the problem. I think that's why people are getting really angry at each other. Everyone's being blamed because of the actions of a few or what somebody posts on social media, and thus with a broad stroke, everyone is then deemed guilty. This is the problem with this conflict. And I know I've mentioned this so many times on Hard Lens Media. The problem is that we are quick to jump to our various sides as soon as something really emotional or brutal is presented before us, be it on the media, be it on the internet. And I think we're all in the universal agreement. We want this conflict to stop. We want this war to stop. Millennials at this point, we've gone through so many economic instabilities, economic uncertainties, and we've seen so many wars and pandemics now that we're all just being burnt out. I think we're all at wit's end, and we just don't see a brighter future before us. And we have leaders who are not going to take the initiative of actually trying to come up with a solution. Unfortunately, our politicians don't have what it takes to actually lead us out of it. They know how to make money off of war. They know how to make money off of depression by bailing out banks and Wall Street executives and so many other people in the top 1%. But when it comes down to solving the crisis in humanity, our ongoing conflicts with each other, there is no effective leadership. And we can't get it from the media because the media doesn't do its job. The media wants to sensationalize everything, and thus it adds fuel to the fire of people being angry, not thinking rationally, and not looking at the bigger picture. What we're seeing between Palestine and Israel has been going on for decades, even happening long before many of us have been born. And these actions were created by people who thought they knew better or assumed that one side would be dominant over the other. You cannot tell a person who has been stepped on for so long that they should just take it and continue to be obedient and good. When you build an open air prison in which there is no water or electricity, it is rational to look at the fact that they will push back, that there will be resentment, that there will be anger, that there will be fanaticism. I don't see a solution of peace happening anytime soon. And unfortunately, because of this, innocent lives will suffer. We should be better. And that's where we have to come in. Because the longer we sit on this, the longer we turn a blind eye to the abuse of power, the longer we turn a blind eye to all these horrific crimes that we are putting upon each other, nothing will change. Now, I see where Robbie's coming from because I think he's being attacked. Obviously, he lost his cool. That's not being professional on a media network. You gotta be composed, Robbie. No one wants to see innocent lives suffer. But the point that Briahna Joy Gray keeps bringing up is the fact that there is this unnecessary anger and this blind rage to call for the continuation of the siege that's happening in the West Bank and Gaza. So long as this continues to happen, so long as that policy that's being implemented by the apartheid government in Israel, unfortunately, what will happen is that another event like this that we are seeing right now will take place years down the road. And people will wonder, well, how did this happen? It's because we keep on making the same mistake over and over again. And that has got to stop.